Welcome to the 11th episode of the Honey Pot Podcast for Sweet Conversations. I'm your host, Carmen Hendricks, and today I took the lid off the pot for the wonderful Miss Cherie Barnes. We have an exciting interview scheduled for today. You're going to love her. You're going to love her personality. Now, before we get started, I want to make sure you all know how to find us. We're available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Make sure you search for us, like us, follow us, subscribe. We are Honey Pot Podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by African Culture Love, a place to find fashionable African pieces, including jewelry. They have something for everybody, men, women, children. Check them out. They will knock your socks off. They are African Culture Love. Now let's go ahead and get started. I want to introduce our guest, Miss Cherie Barnes. She is a clinician, an author, speaker, but most importantly, she is a child of God. Cherie is the author of 12 Lessons of Healing Through Grief. She received the Outstanding Professional Counseling Publication Award from the Illinois Counseling Association in 2008 for her article about juvenile recidivism. Cherie is the recipient of the 2017 Schultz Foundation for Advanced Counseling Merlin W. Schultz Professional Development Grant. Isn't that exciting? When she is not glued to her computer, she enjoys cooking, binge watching the Food Network, one of my favorites, and she volunteers. She is currently working on a children's book. Welcome, Cherie.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. Now, I know that you know how we work, but of course, I want to let our viewers and our listeners know. So we will talk about today's topics and we'll interview in between those topics so people can get to know the whole you, or the full you. Okay. And your personality is so grand. I know that they're going to love you.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. How did you begin your journey as a writer? And do you consider yourself a Christian writer?
Actually, my journey as a writer was purely accidental. I began to journal in my journal after I lost the love of my life. And so everything I put in my journal actually began to be the book that I have published now. I consider myself, I guess, to be more inspirational than Christian, although I have lots of Christian influences, but just the things that I've learned along the 12 months that it's been almost 12 months since the day he passed away. So it's allowed me to just talk about and just learn the things that I've been able to learn along the 12 months. So it's more inspirational than anything.
In saying that and in telling us that, first, I'd like to say that I'm very sorry for your loss. Tell me, what was your biggest influence? How did you decide or determine to translate it into a book?
To be perfectly honest, there's a difference between grief and mourning. And so grief is the feelings and mourning is the outward expression of grief. And I took to Facebook and social media to share what I was feeling, how I was feeling, and everything I experienced in between. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, you know what? I got to stop this because this is painting me in a different light than what I want people to actually know me as, or the people that actually knew me, they were seeing a total different side of me that they didn't recognize. And so I began to notice the inward signs that I was experiencing trauma and grief and depression. And I said, you know what? You need to check yourself. And you need to do something about this because as a practicing clinician and mother and friend and sister, this is not who I want people to see me as. So I need to do something to make that change.
Your book is entitled 12 Lessons of Healing Through Grief. Mm-hmm. Within those lessons, tell us a little bit about the book and then give us your favorite tip, your favorite lesson in the book. Which one really kind of helped you carry yourself into who you are today?
The book is basically the 12 lessons I've learned along the journey that of healing through grief. So my favorite lesson is having a support system. I had my friends, I had family, I had my church family. I'm a member of the Order of Eastern Star, so I had my sisters, and I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. So I had my sorors who really showed up and showed out in my life. When I tell you I have like the best support system ever, I have friends jumping on planes coming to Chicago because I'm from Chicago. I had friends jumping on planes coming to Chicago. I had friends driving from the state of Tennessee to come and see me, just to sit and be with me, just so that I can get through this period of my life. So the support system is the biggest tip that I would give someone if they're experiencing grief, loss, and trauma. Have a support system, because you can't do it alone.
I completely agree with that, because when you're going through something, you definitely have to have a strong support system. If you don't, it takes a toll on you, and it's very hard to come out of that. So
absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about your background as a clinician and how you use that to help others in your writing.
Well, as a clinician, I've worked with adults. I've worked with older adults. I've worked with small children doing play therapy. I've worked with adolescents, and adolescents has been the population that I've cherished and just flourished the most with, because you get to learn their language, their lingo, the things that they go through. And as a 40-something adult, the things that adolescents go through, it's not something that 40-something-year-olds would go through or have been through, because they're growing up in a totally different world and environment than what I grew up in. So just being able to figure out and recognize what they're going through and how they're going through it has just made the work with them just so worthwhile.
You mentioned that you're from Chicago. In California, I say this because in Chicago, you have to deal with some extreme weather. So I know right now it's super cold there.
Yeah. We're having a heat wave today. It's 32 degrees. I'm so excited. I had my window actually cracked on my way home from work, because that's a heat wave, because it's been below zero.
Okay, see, that would be a no for me. That is a no. I live in Miami for a reason.
Oh, yeah, I've been there, and it's absolutely beautiful.
It is beautiful. But I mean, I'm not used to that.
Okay.
I'm originally from Mississippi. We used to get ice storms, but negative. Negative? No. We did not have negative weather there. I can't do it.
I'm so used to it.
I'm sure.
Because you just learn to deal with it.
Because so I went home for the holidays, and I got sick while I was there, so I really didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
But while I was there, the temperature dropped and it got really cold. And it was like 17 or whatever. So then when it got up to like 30, 40 degrees, it was warmer. You really can't feel the difference. So,
yes, you do. You feel it.
Okay, so I brought that up because right now California is going through these different extremes in their weather. They went from the wildfires to now they're having all of these flooding challenges. So I was wondering, what were your thoughts on that? What do you think about what's going on in this world of weather?
You know what? I am so heartbroken that when you look at the news, that the families, the individuals, the people, they're losing their homes because of something like fire. When you think about losing your home, you don't think about you're going to lose it to fire. You think about all this other stuff, but they're losing their homes because of fire and because of the flood. So my heart and I feel so sorry. I mean, I just feel so sorry because they're going through something as extreme as the weather, but they can't get back to things that they're lost, and they they can't get back the family members, that they cherish. So my heart goes out to all of the, is it Californians? My heart goes out to all the Californians.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's devastating to lose something. When we had the hurricanes and the hurricane hit Houston and then the hurricane hit here in Florida, it was a lot to deal with.
Absolutely.
I feel so sorry for the people who experienced Katrina in New Orleans.
Yes, I still think about that.
Yeah,
and I know it's been so many years, but you think about it because they're still trying to rebuild.
Yeah, exactly. But then not only that, you had the people who in New Orleans were flooded and lost everything. And then they moved to Houston and they were flooded and lost
everything. Right. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. A double whammy.
This weather is so unpredictable and you just never really know. And it's like, they say global warming doesn't exist, but something is going on.
Something is going. Well, I don't know that, Carmen. We have to put our thinking caps on, because it's changes is happening.
Changes are happening. You know what? Now, this is something that's really interesting. I was thinking about this the other day. These diseases that are like the cold right now, the flu. Everybody is getting the flu and they're saying, okay, well, it's turning into pneumonia. And it is, we keep getting these different strains. And it's because you have people who are taking all of these different medications and then they're getting sick and then they're passing it on. That's what's making it develop into what it is, because it builds a resistance to these medicines that people are taking. And then right now we have, and I hate to bring this up, but right now we have all of these rappers who are taking all of these pills, Percocet, Marley's, taking cough syrup.
They're damaging their body. They're just doing so much more so much more things than what they should be, but for the sake of, I don't know, they want to hide, they want to keep up with their friends, the other folks in the industry, and it is ravaging their bodies and it's tearing it down.
And their bodies are building a resistance, especially those people who are on syrup. Their bodies are building a resistance, and so now it is causing these colds and this flu and everything to develop into something else, a completely different strain. And it's hard on us because the people who don't take it can't take this normal medicine that we usually take because it has a resistance to it. People don't realize
it's bad. It's bad though, because you go into the doctor one day and you're like, okay, I have a what you think is a typical cold, cough, flu, and it turns out to be something totally different, and they don't know how to figure out how to heal you. They don't know what to give you because this is not a common flu or not common cold or common strep throat or whatever. It's something totally different. So doctors have to figure out, what can I give you to try to heal you?
Exactly. People don't realize cause and effect. If you're taking this medicine and you don't need it, and then when you really need it, your body is resistant to it.
Absolutely.
Crazy. So we have in the news now the ad for H&M. I'm sure you've seen the little boy.
Yes, I have seen it, and I am so disappointed that they would release something like that and think it's okay. But I was having a conversation with a friend of mine today, and we were just discussing that. And so she brought up a point saying that, for years and years and years that's been the standard, but it's just been a different form. And so the example she brought up was like Barbie clothing, and like as a baby, you put on the monkey pajamas and the other different type of characters, the I don't know, lions or whatever, and we as people purchase the clothing and things like that. So we've been perpetuating the stereotype of it's okay to be the monkey, it's okay to be the lion. And so I was like, wow, I've not thought about that, but when I actually thought about what she was saying, it's okay for us to do it, but it's really not, because it's just perpetuating racism.
Well, first, let's, for those who are not familiar with it, I want to explain what we are talking about. So there is an ad where there's a young black boy who has on a t-shirt that says, so the little black boy's shirt says coolest monkey in the jungle, and he's standing alongside a little white boy who says survival expert, and he has a picture of a tiger on his shirt. And when you look at the ad, initially everyone had focused so much on the little black boy and what his shirt said that you didn't see the entire ad. But when you look at the entire ad, then there lies the question: why doesn't the little boy's shirt have a monkey on it if you're going to have a tiger? Why does it, so that you can differentiate if this is supposed to generally be about, but then also knowing that stereotype, why would you not have it turned around? Why can't he be the survival expert?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I follow you.
There are so many different ways that we can look at this ad. At the end of the day, it's wrong. But also at the end of the day, we have to also think about everybody who approved this ad. It didn't just start with the people in wardrobe.
Oh no, it started from the top all the way down.
Exactly.
Is that they're the one who don't get axed.
Exactly. So you have that. You have wardrobe. You have the photographers. You have the parents. You have the people that approved it. You have all of these people in place that didn't see a problem with it. And now we have this big state.
Sure.
Now, this is something different from the ad, the Dove ad, there where everybody was in an uproar about the Dove ad.
Sure.
I spoke about this in a show as well. In that ad, they only focused on that one thing.
Okay.
Now, and when you look at it and you think about, because when I saw the ad, I wasn't offended. Okay. And that's because as soon as I saw the ad, what it brought to mind for me was the Michael Jackson black and white video. Where,
okay.
And so it didn't register to me that there was any type of, you wash your skin and then you turn white, and that's not the way that it registered to me, because I was looking at it. I guess I was looking at it creatively. And like I said, it made me think
from a different standpoint, though. I mean, assuming that, you look at this and it's not just what you see on the surface, it's what the perceived perception of it would be. And you didn't perceive it to be racist, but you perceived it to be something that was something totally different.
Right. But then also initially, and then I'm like, okay, let me go back and look at this whole commercial so I can see what they're trying to say. Okay. And, so that's what happened here with this little boy. I'm like, okay, let me look at this entire ad, because right now racial tension it's
all-time high, Carmen. I think it's an all-time high. One thing happens and it perpetuates something else, and then another incident or something happens and it just leads to something else. So all-time high.
So when you saw the ad for H&M, what were your thoughts? What did you think about it?
My initial thought was, okay, how racist is this? And who approved this? Because this is not cool. I mean, I was very upset. Because I was just like, well, this is not cool. Why are we approving something like this? And where's this boy's parents? Where's his whoever figures? Where's his agent? Where are all these other people that's connected to him that would say, hey, this is a great ad for you, or to find him this work? Why nobody else in between saying something is wrong with this ad?
I want to go into another topic. And this is something that this did outrage me. And I want to play the clip so that everybody can hear it and see it. Let me go ahead and prepare you now.
All right, I'm ready.
It is a bit outraging, but here's the background. Steve Alfred, who is a Republican Kansas lawmaker, was arguing against legitimizing and legalizing marijuana in the state. And he made some disparaging remarks against African Americans and their character and makeup when it comes just in general, but then in addition to what happens when we are as Black people under the influence. And I'm not saying you and I, but just as African Americans. So let me go ahead and play this clip for the people.
All right, for the people. Playing for the people. Because I got some comments about this, Carmen.
We're going to do it for the people.
This Kansas state lawmaker was in this town meeting arguing about whether or not to legalize marijuana. Okay, and one of his reasons for being against the legalization was this. Listen carefully. The tape's not great.
The African Americans, they were basically users, and they basically responded the worst of those drugs just because their character makeup, their genetics.
That is Republican State Representative Steve Alfred in a public meeting. And yes, he just said African Americans had the worst response to marijuana as a function of their character and makeup. He then issued a statement saying he was wrong, and sincerely apologized to anyone he hurt.
So now that I've played that clip, please tell me your thoughts on that.
It pissed me off, really, to be honest. But it made me think that not only are African Americans affected by substance abuse or mental health issues or have an addictive personality, every creed, color, race, and nationality across the United States and beyond, they're affected by substance abuse and mental health issues. So to me, it was unfair that he targets African Americans when every other race in the world has the same problem.
So here's my issue with this. Black people are plagued with crack. Throw them in jail.
We didn't bring it over, though.
Now we have the opium epidemic.
Methamphetamines as well.
And it's affecting suburban communities.
Sure.
Now we want to invest in rehab and help those who are affected by drugs because it is a disease. But it wasn't a disease when crack hit the Black community hard.
Absolutely. But that's a differentiation of treatment, because just as if the African American, Native American, the white American, the Chinese American need help with substance abuse, everyone across the board needs the same type of help, whether you're rich or whether you're poor. So it doesn't, substance abuse and mental health issues, it doesn't pick on one community. It picks on everyone across the board.
Exactly. This type of comment, and I'm trying to choose my words.
Sure, I get it.
This type of comment makes my blood boil.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to drugs, like you said, we didn't bring it into our communities. It came from somewhere. Crack came from cocaine.
Sure.
Cocaine is not a drug that anybody can afford. It's frustrating that every time something bad happens or every time someone perceives something bad to happen, the go-to is the African American community.
It is.
Because in a country where so much rides on things that were developed by African Americans, we're not appreciated. I was thinking about this today, and I know this is going to ruffle some feathers.
Oh, God. Okay, come on, bring it.
During slavery, even after slavery, and I'm thinking about this because when I was home, we visited the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum.
Okay.
Made me cry, made me angry, I felt a lot of emotions. Okay. But there was a time where you had a Black woman taking care of a white child. They are breastfeeding they are teaching these children. And then when they get of age where they can speak, this Black woman who has raised this child has to call her ma'am, sir. I have an issue with people not recognizing what we have contributed to society. If we are good enough to breastfeed your children, or were at the time, we're good enough to be respected. We're good enough to be considered more than 3/5 of a human.
Absolutely.
We are good enough to be considered a person who will contribute to society in a way that will help others and not hinder others. And this was a setback. This type of, like the commentator, the journalist said, this type of behavior, this type of thinking, this was his belief. It was a true belief of his. And people like to go and get false statistics so that they can prove a point. But let's look at some of the real statistics. Let's look at what's going on in some of these suburban communities with these people who are on drugs that are not African American and what they are doing. Because the last that I've seen, when bath salts was, like the big thing, they weren't just Black people going around biting and other people and eating other people and showing cannibalistic tendencies.
Sure. It speaks to that it affects everyone across the board, everyone across lifespans. It's not just young folks or middle-aged individuals, it's older individuals and our senior population who are experiencing some of the things that the world is giving us. It's not just a teenager, it's and that goes to speak of there's issues and there's problems that we all face regardless of race, color, creed, but it's across the lifespan. It is across the lifespan.
It is. And we have so many people who are getting away with so much. These people are getting away with everything. Look at Joe Arpaio. Let's talk about him. How he just got pardoned and now he wants to run for office.
He has been doing whatever he wants for a number of years. And so I guess the constituents believe that, okay, we're going to put him in office and he's going to do, I guess, greater than what he did as sheriff. But I mean, you have to just truly think about what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. I don't care what color you are, what creed, what race you are. Differential treatment and unfair treatment is wrong, period.
He's running for the U.S. Senate for Arizona. I'm interested in seeing how that's going to go, because Donald Trump pardoned him, and now everyone is looking to see if Donald Trump is going to endorse him.
Sure. It's something we're going to have to continue to follow as the story develops, and for us to be able to see if that is really what's going to happen, or if someone else is going to actually endorse him, for him to continue to get the office. It's going to be interesting.
Let's get back to some questions about you. Now that we've talked about some of these topics, how do you incorporate news from current events into your writing?
Well, the one thing that I try to do in terms of my writing is to be as transparent as I possibly can, to write with integrity, because as a clinician, as a therapist, as a counselor, I have pledged my life to deal and to have ideals that I say that I'm going to uphold, standards that I'm going to uphold, things that I'm going to be able to say I live my life as a practicing clinician. So integrity is very important, and being transparent, as I'm saying, is important to me as well, because people sometimes think that, I don't know if the story is true, or I don't know if she's really going through this, but being transparent to let someone know that this is my true life, this is my true experiences, this is who I really am as a person, And this is not something that I'm making up, that, yeah, I suffered from depression. Yeah, you know, you go through withdrawal symptoms when you don't want to be around, you know, individuals or family. So, I mean, just having integrity and just being transparent and just living the true, authentic me is what I use in terms of my writing and who I am as a person.
Yeah, and people can see that. They can see when you are transparent and your writing is organic and you're really writing from your soul, people can tell and they can see. Because
Absolutely.
you can't express those feelings. I don't care how much of a writer you are. If you've not gone through it
Absolutely.
or experienced it in some way, there's no way you
Absolutely.
can write about it.
Absolutely. It makes me think about, I lost my love of my life. I lost him in January. Just the array of experiences and just feelings. Then I lost his mother a few short months later. And then my mother got remarried months later after that. So I went from feelings of depression and sadness and grief and loss and trauma to, I got to flip the hat to now I'm really excited and I'm happy for my mother. But that was a struggle for me because I was not in that place to be able to celebrate her the way that she needed me to be.
Would you, since you used your experiences in losing him to write, how do you use your writing to inspire others?
I try to write things that are positive, even despite the grief, trauma, and loss that I've experienced, like having the support system. That was such a very positive experience for me that I tell people I just have like the best friends, the best support system, the best church members in the absolute world, because they were the ones who helped me and pushed me to get through where I am. Because if it was not without my church members and my sorority sisters and my Eastern Star family and just my childhood friends and just everyone that has poured into me and become a part of me, I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have.
So how has your life changed since you published your book?
It's a roller coaster some days. Some days I'm like on cloud 9, and other days I find myself still kind of, there's been good and bad, ups and downs, but the one thing that has been a constant is just people, friends, family, and just, actually I have a new identity because I'm learning to live life without our planned goals and our planned dreams and our planned things that we have planned to do. So I'm making the move, starting a business and continuing to write and just, you know, being a different person, transforming myself to a whole nother person. It's hard without him, but, you know, in my back of my mind, I'm always thinking, well, you know what, we planned this. This is something we wanted to do. And this is, you know, a goal that I always wanted to do. So, you know what, he's still here, just not physically, but, you know, every step of the way as I'm doing things, he's still here. So that's the exciting part of it, because I'm being transformed.
You have another book coming out.
The working title of the book, it's a devotional, and it is Conversations with God. And so it's a mix of encouragement, it's a mix of relationships, and a mix of just emotional moving. That's what I call it, my new term I made up. Just emotional moving in order to help someone get to a better place. So I'm really excited. It's coming out in February.
We will be looking for it. Make sure you let us know now, because over in the pot, we try to support everybody.
Okay, I'll be sure to let you guys know.
Okay, so here's our last question before we get to the next segment, and that is, what does literary success look like to you?
Literary success means to have the local newspapers here in Chicago recognize and spotlight me as an author who is not only writing in order to share her work with the community, but because there's the Chicago Sun-Times, there's the Defender, there's the Southtown, there's the Sun-Times. So those are all of Chicago's major newspapers, with the Chicago Defender being the newspaper for the Black community. So being able to be recognized in one of the major news outlets in terms of print in Chicago, since sometimes it seems like print is dying and the digital divide is what is driving us, but being recognized there, but being also recognized on Amazon's bestseller list and just any of the other short list on Amazon, because everyone goes to Amazon for not just books, not just audio, just for everyday regular shopping. So being there with that symbol of Amazon is literary success for me.
I'm telling you, because my new case for my computer, it came from Amazon.
Yes, I love Amazon. Love it. I got some stuff in my cart right now. Like, okay, I'm just waiting to hit the send button to pay.
I was reading in the news today, Jeff Bezos, the owner, he's worth $98 billion now.
I can't even fathom that.
He started off with one table, sitting in a home office, and he went from that to where he is today. And I remember when
you say 98
billion, and I remember reading about him, and if you had any complaints or anything, he had his email address readily available, and he would sit and he would respond to everybody who had a complaint through email.
Wow.
He capitalized on customer service. And I don't think this is something that we as African American business owners must understand. Customer service is key. We've got it. Like you said, we've gotten to the digital age, and things are changing. But one thing that does not change is customer service. You as a clinician, you know that human interaction is important. Being empathetic is important.
Having an active listening ear is important.
That's right. So I hope that today people take that away from this. Not only do they know that they can go and read your book and have 12 steps towards walking away from grief, but knowing what's out there and how to get there when it comes to business is good in customer service, and just really committing yourself to your business. Because that's what it takes to write a book. You have to commit to it.
Yes, you do. It's a lot of work. I mean, as you know, because you're a fellow author, it's a lot of work. It's commitment, but it's also determination that the product that you put out is going to be something that you're proud of and something that is a pain point for someone else.
Okay, so now it's time for our segment, What's in the Honey Pot? And this is where we ask you what's in your music playlist. So tell us what you're listening to now.
Well, my constant is, it's not even really music. It's podcast. I am enthralled with listening to Joel Osteen. I have XM radio in my car. And so I listen to XM radio all day, every day. And I've just discovered he's not even, well, he's there, but he's not there no more. But one of the preachers that was connected to Lakewood Church, John Gray, he's actually have another assignment going, I guess, to another state. So I just love to hear his preaching and just hear his word and his rendition of the word and just different things. So, and gospel. Anything gospel is on my playlist.
Yeah, when I lived in Houston, I had the opportunity to go and hear him speak, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. And he has a television show, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. He does. He does. So I catch that sometimes too.
Well, hopefully you can add the honey pot.
Yes, I already did.
All right. Cool. Make sure you let everybody know that they can come listen to us in the pot.
I will.
Okay. So do you have any last words for our listeners and viewers? And also tell us how we can find you.
Okay. I do have some freebies that I want to share with your subscribers and your audience. I have a 5-day email course that will help someone who is dealing with grief and loss and trauma, who need to be transformed, for them to be able to sign up for the 5-day email course. It is $4.97. It's real cheap, but the impact and the power that you'll get from the course is phenomenal. I also have where you can download my my tips to healing during grief. And I also have a support group on Facebook, Join Our Free Community, where you can be inspired, you can be transformed, and you can begin to understand or just learn the healing process. You can get all of these things at my bit.ly link. So it's bit.ly / capital T, capital H, capital P, 2018 Healing Challenge. I'll repeat it again because I know it's pretty long, but it's bit.ly / THP 2018 Healing Challenge. So if anyone is interested in joining the email challenge, if they're interested in just picking up the tips to dealing with grief during the holidays, and if they're looking to join the free community on Facebook, where they can begin to make connections and heal and talk about their grief and loss, we would love to have them.
Awesome. I'll make sure that I put the link in the description for iTunes and SoundCloud, as well as YouTube, and it will show on the video.
Wonderful.
So I end every show with a Carmenism. So today's Carmenism: to be angry gives away the power that you need to be the best person you can be. Why would you want to give away your power? So that's something I want everybody to think about today in the pod. Thank you, Cherie. Thanks so much for joining.
So much. I appreciate it.
We appreciate having you. We're so glad that you came and visited us in the pod. Hopefully we will have you back soon. Can I get you to commit to that? All right.
Yes, I'll commit to it. Yes, awesome. I'll be back.
Okay. So I want to thank our audience for taking the time to listen to the Honey Pot Podcast. I'm your host, Carmen Hendricks. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and like us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram using the handle @HoneyPot Podcast. You can also find me at CarmenHendricks.com. That does it for today's podcast. I'm putting the lid back on the pot. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.